closer to start it because
Okay.
although it's very nice to hear someone tell it themselves, that's great. So you told the first part of it, but basically what someone already asked, I saw, was what you study at USC, and you study nonlinear phenomena and pattern formation in physics and biology. Okay, and you're a fellow of the American Physical Society and co-director of the Synthetic Biology Institute at UCSD. In his art, he studies patterns of life with his camera. Until the advent of digital era, he was working mostly in traditional 35mm color and black and white technique printing in his own darkroom. Now he's shooting both color and black and white with digital cameras and makes his own limited edition prints. His artistic interests range from abstract photography to still life, portrait, and landscape, but his favorite genre is street photography, in which he enjoys capturing fleeting moments of beauty, humor, and love in everyday life. Lev travels extensively throughout the world and through his photography tries to understand and communicate the spirit of the place and the people. Lev's photography has been exhibited internationally and published in several magazines such as Lenswork, Arta Photographica, etc. Lev is an author of 3 photography books, Through My Eyes, Parallels, and DTLA, which we'll have to tell us what that stands for later. But we really appreciate you being here, Lev, and why don't we get started and we can talk before, but I'm going to paste his website address into the chat window while he's doing that, because he has a really wonderful website. I would really highly recommend everyone go there at some point, not during the meeting, but maybe afterwards. Yeah, thanks. Okay, Sean, you're on, wherever you are.
All right, great. So now next on our agenda is the competition. Get my desk here set right. As always, we have our 2 assigned topics tonight. The first was I believe geometric patterns in nature and people in street scenes. So let me get my Lightroom up here and share. All right, so we'll start with assigned 1, which is the geometric patterns. We had 48 entries. We have 5 places and 5 honorable mentions. Oops, hold on a second.
You like to show this picture, don't you?
All right. Be careful where I move my mouse. All right. So, Lev, you did email how we do this. You critique each image, and then and they should be the same order you saw them, sans the ones that you picked.
Yeah, I mean that helps, but it doesn't really matter.
But first up is Super Succulents, Linda Tomasulo.
Okay, so here we go. So the first image, and it was a good one. So I really liked the way it was framed. So it's very, very tight. And on the other hand, there is a composition here. So I love this focus of attention that slightly purple, I don't know, succulent. I don't know what the specific name of that thing is, but in the middle top, like it's a nice position to have a focal point, and those red highlights and very well composed and very well exposed, I should say. So really nice picture, and yeah, I had a hard time actually thinking about whether it should be. I mean, I would love for it to be among honorable mentions, but they only allowed me 5, so didn't quite make the cut, but I really loved it. So thank you.
Next up is Into the Clouds, Paul O'Keefe.
So this, I see what you were doing, and I kind of like that there is this strong diagonal, which is kind of obvious here, but somehow maybe a subjective feeling, but it wasn't really appealing to me, maybe about the subject matter. So this, I mean, it's just a simple straight line, maybe not so much, I mean, it's a straight line is geometry, but maybe that's not like the most interesting type of geometry. And also the clouds, they're not very well defined. I mean, they're kind of like a blur, basically mashed up in the lower bottom. So overall, I would say it's okay picture, but was not really one of my favorites. So
next up is Colors, Elena Kesey.
This is a very well done picture. I definitely well lighted, beautiful colors, composition, nice. Everything is very nice about that. Again, it's a strong contender. The only kind of a downside for me is that I had like a feeling that I've seen similar pictures many times, and just okay. So that was like I don't even know exactly, but it's kind of like paper shapes. I'm guessing. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I definitely saw that kind of composition quite a lot, and that's why I decided to pass on choosing that as one of the winners. So, otherwise, perfect picture.
Next up is triplets, Sharon Silversmith.
It's a well done, composition, very precise, very. It emphasizes the geometry which is given there. Maybe it's in some sense too kind of precise, not too precise. I shouldn't say that, but it's what I sometimes have problems with when there is a photo of some object which is actually was already geometric in its nature. So somebody, presumably the architect, built this thing to look exactly this way, and then you just basically came and captured his vision or her vision, so that's why I thought this is a little bit less appealing to me. There is nothing wrong with this picture. As a kind of an architectural detail photo, it's perfectly done. Maybe the light could be a little bit more vivid or so, but nevertheless it's a expertly done photo, just not very kind of exciting. Like I always like to say that there should be in the best pictures there should be some kind of a wow factor, so the first time you see it you would say, oh, and this is okay. Says yes, yeah, there are straight lines, there is perpendicular lines, all of this symmetry, everything is there, but it's sort of what was implied by somebody else already, not the author of the photo, but the author of that object. That's my take.
Yay, next up is Art Deco in Scranton, Ronald Spear.
So this is kind of a similar idea, like a previous photo. There is obvious symmetry in the arrangement of the windows in this building. I mean, technically, this photo is not as good as the previous one, I would say. There is there are certain small details which, especially when you do photograph buildings and things like that, you should pay very close attention to. For example, you can see here that the line on the right, you see that you can see a little bit of the light between the edge of the building and the edge of the edge of the frame. So it means that the wall, the angle, the corner of the building is not exactly parallel to the field of view. So it can be easily corrected in Photoshop or something if you really want to do that. So that should have been done if you want to, for a good picture. So in this case, the light is also not very flattering. I would say there are some details which, I mean, yes, they are there, but again, for the perfect symmetry, like in the previous photo, you don't want those reflections in the windows which are in the bottom row. So those things, and the colors are not very vivid. So some things definitely could be improved. I mean, the general take is more or less the same. Yes, it's definitely a geometry. That definitely there is symmetry. Could have been a better picture. And let me just generally kind of apologize ahead of time. So sometimes I can be maybe a little bit curt. I hope nobody has any problems with that. I mean, I try, yeah, but that's me. I just want to say what I see. So basically, bear with me.
That's fine.
Okay.
Next up is Ocean Art, Elena Kesey.
Yeah, this is potentially it's a very good picture. I really love the whole idea of that. There is an interesting line. I love this, wiggling line of the sun reflection on the where the wave just came back. So this is, and the whole arch of this arc of going to towards the upper left corner where there is a little bird there, kind of like a leading line leading there. The only downside, in my perspective, I mean, I would wish to. I mean, it's still a good picture. Yeah, I really like it. The waves which are still visible in the upper left, I mean, I wish they actually, maybe half a second later they wouldn't be there. So if they would go away, and that would be, I think, in my opinion, would be a much stronger picture. So it would be just a perfect one. Maybe some other framing would also help here. I mean, because there is this kind of a little bit of a disconnect between the nice geometry of this wiggly line which goes around the picture, and then this mess of crashed waves in there. So they just kind of work against each other, in my opinion. Maybe, I mean, I don't insist that my opinion is the correct one, but it's just how I feel. Other than that, it's a very good one, and I like the contrast between bright on one side and dark on the other, and there's this line. I mean, everything is very good. It's just this messy stuff in the left kind of distracts, in my opinion.
Yay, I don't know if I pronounce this right. Gethsemane, Nancy Delaney.
It's a good picture, nothing wrong with that. It just didn't strike me as a strong on the subject matter. So like geometry, yes, there is a door with some crosses and there are some other things, but it's not like the best answer to the topic, in my opinion. I mean, yes, there is this composition seems to be good. I mean, maybe I would choose it a little, or maybe I would do it a little bit differently. Not sure how. This blurry flowers in the foreground, grass in the foreground. Somehow, I don't know, that I would try to avoid that maybe. Yeah, I imagine that they were not there. I think the picture would be stronger, in my opinion. Just a tree with the olive tree and the door. I mean, you don't want too many details in especially in this geometrical pictures. The fewer they are, the better, especially if they're not perfectly placed. So anyway, that's my.
Next is Shapes 1, Greg Effner.
This is again potentially very. I mean, it's very close to be one of the nominee. Didn't quite make it, but I mean, geometry is perfectly good here. I love the light. I mean, basically everything here is good, except for the people maybe. So which is strange for me to say that, but I generally love when people are in the frame. But in this case, I mean, yes, I would definitely like them, but that's maybe not the right moment for them to capture them. They're doing something. They're not looking. They're looking somewhere. I'm not sure where, and they are compositionally. Yes, they're not quite amplify the picture. They sort of distract in some way. So they're not paying attention neither to photography nor to something which goes on in the building, or maybe looking in the window. So something else. I mean, I'm not sure how to improve it, but it just they're not really in this case work, in my opinion. I mean, even without them, probably the picture would be stronger. At least I would find it stronger, maybe.
Next up is Geometric Vortex, Jana Kaywood.
Very nice idea, very simple and appealing. One thing which distracts me, I mean, a couple of things which distract me. One is, I mean, it's not perfectly sharp, I would say. So if you look at the ball, which is in the forefront, I mean, some parts of it, I mean, it better be in this, for this picture like this, it has to really pop out of the frame. It has to be like perfectly, well defined. That's one drawback. So there is the light slightly again overexposes on the right. So again, you need to work very carefully on how you light those things. So they have to be really kind of well defined. And that's one comment, one critique. And the second one is, again, if you want to do a central composition like this, you have to again be very precise how you place it. So if you look at the at the ball with respect to the background, you see it's slightly off center. So the left purple triangle and the right purple triangle, so it goes higher on the right than on the left. So you see that it's not symmetric, and it's just slight asymmetry, but it's an important one. So you should have moved your camera. Usually pictures like that you have to take off the tripod, and then you just have to look carefully and position it precisely. Sometimes it's incredible how like a millimeter of shift of your camera actually makes a big difference. And so, but other than that, it was a good idea. So yeah.
Next up is Message from the Mothership, Rich Schreibstein.
So interesting lights on the wall, but I wasn't sure I was sold on the geometry as a subject matter. So in principle, yeah. So I mean, it's just an interesting finding, but I think it could be maybe taken a little bit better. I like the colors, so the muted colors of the building, and which allows you the other lights to pop up. But again, for example, the foreground. So the cropping of this image is kind of weird a little bit. So you see a lot of this black asphalt in the foreground. I don't know if you need that, but then the window up front is cut off. So maybe if you bring the camera higher, maybe it would look stronger. I'm not sure, but just the way this is just yeah, interesting photo, but not not in the top 5, 10.
Good. Next up is Sedum, Ronald Spear.
So similar to the very first one, if you remember that one, but yeah, so similar idea. Maybe it's maybe they shot it together. It seems like it's exactly the same plant, but maybe. But I definitely prefer the first one to this one, just in terms of composition. But this is a good photo too. So just from the geometry standpoint, that one strikes me as a better one.
Next up is Sawtooth, Sean Sullivan.
So it's again this kind of similar to that. Remember this pink ball? It's an interesting idea, definitely geometric. Maybe I would try to shoot it differently somehow. Again, you need to be the thing which is on the front. The circle one, in front of the Sawtooth is slightly not sharp. So maybe I would use a deeper depth of field or something. So that kind of distracts because it's right in the middle and in the front. So just basically separation between the things which you want in focus and the thing you want out of focus should be more striking somehow. And I'm not sure if this particular, so I would maybe try to shoot it so the circle down below is, so I shoot directly through the axis of that. So it's not, now you're looking at it from a little bit from above, and that maybe downplays the geometry. If you would shoot straight through that, even if it's not in the center of the frame, it can still be in the lower part of the frame, but it would probably be more kind of striking geometrically. But that's my guess. I don't know. I never exactly know what, I mean, ahead of time. You just need to play with this when you take photos and take it from slightly different angles and take, I don't know, take 10 photos and then choose the best one. But I have a feeling that this could be potentially a better photo.
Okay, next up is Extraordinary, Marty Bannon.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what it is. It reminds me the one of the Frank Gehry's buildings, but it's definitely an interesting geometrical composition. The quality, the technical quality of these photos, brings it down, in my opinion. So I'm not sure what you use to take it. Maybe it's a phone or maybe a camera. There is lots of digital artifacts there, maybe over sharpening, things like that. So that's, I mean, technically it's not too great, but compositionally it's interesting. I would definitely love to see that well technically made. Maybe we can try to reshoot it in the future.
Next up is Web 2, Patricia Garrett.
Web 2. I wonder, I don't remember what was the name for that. Anyway, yeah, I should. No, yeah. Anyway, so this photo, yes, it's a good photo. I like it. Very well technically done. The contrast between the metal things in the back and the web is great. I really don't have any problem with it. I mean, the geometry, yes, geometry of the cobweb is very interesting. But I guess, okay, maybe I should stop here. I mean, it was close for me. I like the black and white. It was very technically well done, but it didn't make the cut. Anyway, let me stop here.
Next up is Cylinders, Dan Steen.
Interesting finding, interesting photos. Definitely cylinders are geometric. I would maybe, I don't know. There's nothing particularly wrong with the photo, except for maybe the foreground. So again, the grassy slope. I would maybe try to lose that if I really would go for like a striking geometrical image. Maybe go closer or something. So I understand that you cannot jump very high to get rid of it. So, but maybe you can come close and take a photo. You don't need maybe that many cylinders, just because the angle. I mean, you can try to maybe to shoot it straight up from the side of one of these picture, or one of the side, either one side or another side, and see how that looks. Or maybe you just don't need all these other cylinders which don't have any murals there, and maybe that will look better. So something is not, I mean, it's good picture, it's a good finding, but the foreground distracts me. That car which is half visible, maybe try to avoid that. I mean, if it would be fully visible. Again, in combination with the bright murals, it could work well, but maybe not in this particular composition. So.
Next is Bonnie's Batik quilt, Dow Smith.
So yeah, this is again one of those photos which, I mean, nothing wrong. It's nice colors and well done, very sharp, very straight composition. But again, this is a photo of some geometrical pattern which already was there in a sense. So you just basically took a photo of somebody else's geometrical composition. So that kind of is my only gripe with that. Other than that, it's perfectly done, no problem.
Next up is Household Shapes, Claudia.
Maybe you have done this quilt. I'm not sure. It's kudos to you, but it's still kind of a different idea. So this is interesting. I actually liked the idea a lot. So this basically like a play on Malevich's black squares. We have two of them. One is a rectangular, and there is another white thing. So generally speaking, I think it's good. There is something which is kind of not quite. I mean, again, it has to be perfectly framed somehow to work. I guess, because I have a feeling that it's a little bit skewed to both the fireplace, if that's what it is, slightly kind of maybe the camera is not quite, parallel to the wall, the sensor or the back of the camera, or it's slightly asymmetric in my opinion, but and that kind of makes it look a little bit snapshotish rather than being exactly framed and precisely measured. So, but the idea is kind of interesting. I sort of like that. Yeah.
Next is the Senate Staircase, Sally Wilsey.
Yeah, lots of things going on here, and I love it as just the architecture photography. Maybe that's, and I see that there are some certain angles and circles and straight lines and columns, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's a good photo, good lighting, everything is good. It just yeah, was close to my my HM's honorable mentions, but didn't. Yeah, I had to limit with 5. Sorry about that, but good photo.
Next up is Under the Bridge, Joe Catronio.
Again, very nice composition. This was done very carefully. I can see that, very precise, and that definitely works in its favor. A little bit flat on the light. That's the only problem I see with that. So maybe if it was, I mean, maybe it could be done maybe in processing, make it more contrasty or something. But yeah, it's a good photo. It was really close.
Next up is Hemingway's Bathroom Floor, Donna Funk.
Yeah, so well, again, same comment as I did for the quilt and those 3 windows. So yeah, it's a straightforward photo of a geometrical pattern which was made by somebody else, and that's something which I mean, I nothing wrong with that. Again, it's well done photo, very proficiently, but yeah, I like to see some more found geometries, which not anticipated by whoever did that.
Next is a Greek G for geometric pattern, Jana Kaywood.
Yeah, so generally, yes. Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty good picture. That's I see the idea, but I don't know. There is again maybe I could shoot it straight down maybe to show better kind of better communicate the geometrical idea. There is this reflecting light in the left part of the frame which kind of distracts. So there is some definitely there's a light source, a single light source which shoots from the top left, and you can see shadows of that light on this hexagonal pattern. And that's also distracting, I would say. So I would prefer many shadows. So maybe a more kind of diffuse light would help to make it stronger. So yeah.
Next up is Bubble Hub, Janice Pritchett.
Yeah, that was very, very close for me. I love the colors. I love this. The whole idea is interesting. Many circles and beautiful circles. There's definitely using the camera in a creative way to get this. So yeah, I was really kind of torn about how to place. I had about 10 photos which were in my list of honorable mentions. I had to decide which ones I use. That's one was one of them, definitely. Good idea and very well done. Very impressionistic feel to that photo. I love it.
Next up is Hairy Eyeball, Thomas Whitmore.
So I like this photo a lot, actually. It's just interesting idea to put the horse, to shoot it through the window. And nice kind of a rural feel to this, and light is slightly subdued colors. Everything works well. It's just not not my first thought would be that this is about the geometry. So okay, yeah, I see that there is a square window, but that's and those lines, but still the geometry is not the point here. The point is the horse, how it looks out. So it's a great photo, but maybe not exactly for this challenge.
Next is Looking Up, Paul O'Keefe.
So here my problem with this photo is yes, you found an interesting geometrical object, and now the question is how do you shoot it so it actually works in your favor. So here I found that the framing was not quite complementing the shape. So yes, it's kind of awkward that the structure is on the side. There is like a strip of sky on the right, which is so it's kind of not very well balanced in my opinion. Yeah, and the light, the sun which shines through that. Yes, in principle it could be a good idea to add this star pattern. The star pattern here is slightly not well defined. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it can be very sharp, and then and again it had to somehow complement the shape which you are shooting, and in this case kind of distracts from that in my opinion. So yes, there is one pattern, and this is a different one which overlaps, and it's not quite works in this case, I would say.
Next up is Domes, Nancy Delaney.
Beautiful picture in my opinion. So yeah, very nicely done, all these shapes, and definitely geometric. I don't know, it was again one of those cases where I had to make a selection, but really nice photo. I love this. Yeah.
Next is Diamonds Are Forever, Donna Funk.
Yeah, again, one of the things which were the photos may be too straightforward in one way. So yeah, so just in this sense, yeah, definitely geometry is here. There's a very regular pattern. I was not sure why you decided to keep that strip in the upper right. So was it a conscious decision, or to leave it there, or an oversight? Maybe you could, but if you lose that, even with this, it's kind of too simple in a sense, right? So you want geometry. It's always a balancing game. You don't want it to be too complicated, then you lose the sense of geometry. But when it's just too simple, when you have like a single circle in the middle, right, you can find things like that. But that would be too straightforward and maybe not as interesting. And this is one of those cases. So maybe, okay, so yeah, it definitely is a grid, but maybe not very interesting.
Next up is Geomarchitecture, Neil Shapiro.
So yeah, very nice geometry, very carefully done, I would say. Something about this didn't rise it to the top. I'm trying to remember what was my yeah. Again, it's more or less, yeah. I guess the idea was to shoot it straight up, so there's this emphasize the symmetry, but it's not quite symmetric. If you look carefully, you see that in the middle, the beam which is behind this white grid, you can see the beam on the left side of the central vertical line, right? So it means that you are not exactly across, you slightly shifted to the left, and that's why the other two beams which go through the picture from these crosses, you can see one much better than the other one, and that's sort of from the first sight it seems almost symmetric. It seems symmetric, but then you start to look closely, you see that it's not quite. So there is some off, and that kind of distracts a little bit, at least in my opinion. If you shift it by, I don't know, maybe a foot to the right, or maybe half a foot or something, that it would be perfectly symmetric and it would be better one.
Next is Grandmother's Lone Star, Dal Smith.
Yeah, well, again, same thing. So same idea. So yes, perfectly done. Technically, no problems. It's just not, from my perspective, not very interesting to shoot a geometrical image, basically.
Next is Window Shapes, Claudia Jakubowski.
Yeah, that was one of the good ones. Very, I mean, I generally like these ideas, very highly contrasty. I mean, for geometry, it works really well. Again, nothing wrong with this. Composition is good. Just when I was comparing different images, there are several in this challenge, in this selection, which were kind of going after similar ideas, and I just chose the other one slightly above that. But this is a good one. Nothing wrong with that, so I like it.
Next is New York State Museum, Rich Schreibstein.
Yeah, very nice patterns. Maybe make it, if you would make it a little bit more contrasty somehow. It's a little sad looking in a sense. I'm not sure why. Maybe just it's there's no white, it's just gray and dark. So that's maybe just what that was my only problem with that. But other than that, yeah, I think it's well done. Everything is good. Yeah.
Next is Shapes 2, Greg Effner.
Yeah, this is, yeah, it's a nice perspective when, you know, it emphasizes this depth of this field of this building very well. The row of windows, everything is in principle, yeah, it's nice. Again, something is, I don't know, I can't even say what is missing. It's just, again, this mysterious wow factor. So yeah, so it's a not sure how would I probably wouldn't be able to do anything different than what you've done here. So it's hard to say. I don't know. It's a good photo, but it's you know, just from the point of architecture, it's you know, if you want to showcase the building, that's perfectly well done. If you want just to emphasize geometry, there should be some kind of striking thing here, which I found it missing. But I'm not sure what to do about this. Anyway, that's subject matter, I guess. But given that place, you've done a good job capturing it.
Next up is Toot Toot, Thomas Whitmore.
So I'm not sure how to. Yeah, that was so nothing is in sharp focus here, right? So I don't know if it was the idea or was an oversight. So I would maybe, since the geometry here apparently is the circles which on the forefront, I would maybe make them sharp and then let the background, the boat and the landscape just be out of focus, depending on, and then you can control your aperture to decide how much out of focus you want that thing to be. But I found that the fact that the circles in the forefront were blurred, that didn't do it for me. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure why it was that was done. So
Next is Twin Bridges, Janice Pritchett.
yeah, that's again, that's a very well crafted photo. I mean, perfect composition for this very, you know, striking beams. Just again, one of those photos which were very close and basically were in the HM, in a honorable mention category, but just somehow didn't end up there. But very good one. I mean, there is no problem here. I mean, in general, I mean, these photos work much better if you find a good time of the day or good weather to shoot it. For example, at a sunset, when there is like something, again, wow factor. So like a beautiful sky would benefit that, or some interesting light, or because you can, the good thing about those bridges, you can come any day, right? At any time, in principle. I mean, and yeah, if you can find a better, maybe at night, sometimes it can work better. I don't know, but it's it just may, I mean, it's a good photo, but could be made even better. That's, I guess, what I'm saying.
Next up is Stepping Up, Sharon Silversmith.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's a nice, interesting structure here, and you can probably, I guess, you could try to shoot it better. That's my guess, is that I wasn't sure why you decided to keep that part of the street behind it, the lantern and the building. So it's kind of distracting because you want to see there, except for, I guess, your focus was that white structure which you wanted to photograph. So I would maybe focus on that and crop that out, and maybe use a different frame for this. So not sure exactly. Again, I would just experiment, but I found that this particular decision on framing was not the best for this for the idea.
Next up is Cubic, Sean Sullivan.
So this was again a very good one. I actually very much like the processing. So even though it's also kind of sad looking, but here it's kind of conscious decision. It's definitely a result of the the processing. So very kind of menacing and kind of overwhelming, and it's a perfectly symmetric, and which works for this photo quite well. So yeah, it's one of the once again which were very close to in my category of the ones which I had to decide which ones belong and which ones don't. Anyway, good photo. Very good.
Next is Into the Cleaning, Marty Bannon.
This
The clearing, I'm sorry, Into the
seems like
Clearing.
it's the same building which was one of the previous photos. But what I didn't particularly like is that a couple of things. One is again there are some artifacts in processing. I don't know. It feels over sharpened, or maybe it was originally not very sharp and then somehow over sharpened. There is like a strange texture to all surfaces here, which I wasn't sure. It's not too appealing for me. So that's one thing. Another one is the framing is a little strange, right? So it's kind of close to symmetry, but not symmetric. And this is the one thing which you want to avoid usually, is like either it has to be really asymmetric, kind of you have to kind of get completely away from this, which it works. Or if you want to be symmetric, then make it really symmetric, right? So you don't go slightly symmetric. That usually doesn't work, and it's, at least for me, it didn't work in this case. So that's why I didn't grade it too high.
Next up is Mohawk Basket, Dan Steen.
So yeah, this is a good photo. Again, one of the I like the textures. Technically, very well done. Textures, light is very soft, which is brings up the structure because you can feel its three-dimensional structure and definitely geometric. So again, one of the close contenders didn't quite make the cut, but nothing wrong with that. I guess just didn't wow me as much as other ones, but close. Very nice.
Next up is a Tunnel of Shapes, Marguerite Hill.
So yeah, this is a good one. In terms of the idea, I think I like it a lot. So it's just very geometric, very striking. Technically, unfortunately, it suffers. You know, it just doesn't. It's not crisp enough, if you see what I mean. It's a kind of muddled colors, muddled structure, so could be sharper. Not sure if it is. It's kind of slightly not sharp everywhere, and I'm not sure what is happening here. Is it? And I'm not. I mean, maybe the author can tell me later what are we looking at? Is it like a well, which we are looking down to that? I'm not sure. Is it? There is a water there which reflects some, because initially you start with these light fixtures on the left and on the right, but then they start to double up, and I wasn't sure what is happening there. But anyway, so that's what was interesting about this. I was kind of guessing what it is, which is a good thing. You want have a little bit of mystery in your photo. It just technically could be a little bit better made.
Okay, our honorable mentions. First up, Space Dock, Neil Shapiro.
Okay, yeah, this is the example of the perfectly done symmetry, which is in this case I think is very important. So I really like that, and I like the colors. The colors are matching. I mean, and the light shines through those slits. I'm not sure but in terms of lighting and overall balance, just a very pleasing and photo. So just makes you feel good somehow.
Next up is New Mexico grocery store, Kim Koza.
Yeah, this is one of the cases when there's this, it's a symmetry which was maybe not intended by the, whoever built this, but the light contributed, and this, the combination of these shadows and reflections and different shapes, and even the chairs, everything seems to work well here. So that's why I liked it a lot. So I like shadows. Shadows are great.
Next up is You've Got Mail, Kim Kozin.
Okay, this is just a beautiful picture. I loved it so much, and the depth of this and the processing is top notch. Everything works really well. You see that it's perfectly symmetric. So the point of view is chosen precisely, and I love how it's exposed and processed. Everything is good. So I loved it.
Next honorable mention, Albany Abstract, Phil Olivo.
Yeah, it's, remember that photo which we discussed a little earlier with this very contrasty with the circle. So this is a very similar to that on one respect. It's just, I like the composition better. So it's a more interesting kind of combination. It's really strongly unbalanced, which is a good thing in this case. I think it works really well. And it's not quite two-dimensional, so there are some shadows. Definitely you can see them everywhere. So it's it's very graphical, but also it has volume, and it's a good thing. So I really loved it, and I love the asymmetry of this. So geometry in one sense, and imbalance is another one. So good job.
The last honorable mention is Shapes by Marguerite Hill.
Yeah, this is it's a very good find, first of all. So yeah, I loved really this mystery of this, and it's shot in a way which sort of emphasizes that there is something menacing about this, which is probably the way was intended, maybe by people who built this structure. I'm guessing this is not real building. This is some kind of mock-up, which is lighted, but it was shot pretty well, I should say. So at first I wasn't sure. It kind of I kind of warmed up to this when I was looking at this. I thought I would maybe shoot it straight down if I could, or maybe do a more close-up to avoid those dark areas, or empty areas around this thing. But then it somehow makes it work. I don't know, in some way. So the fact that this is like a cluster, it's not everywhere, but there is a cluster of these buildings together, and so it worked for me. So I liked it.
Okay. And our winners in fifth place, Wheel, Joe Catronio.
Yeah, this is another. This is the case when you have a perfect symmetry, very simple composition, just straight in. But in this case, it works really well, I think. And the fact that it was cropped tightly, so you don't see the edges of the wheel, but only of the tire, but only like the central part. It's, I think, just focuses your attention exactly where you want it to be. So there is no distracting elements behind the wheel, if you see what I mean. And the colors are beautiful. The colors, the lighting, everything just really works really well. So congrats.
Okay. And fourth place is I Was Part of a Car Once, Phil Olivo.
So again, it's just very striking, I should say. The colors are beautiful. I love that there is a structure in this blue, dark blue, so it's not quite like because that brings some depth to the so it's not just a flat picture as it would be without those highlights and texture. So just a striking, complex geometry and lovely colors. So that's why I chose it.
Third place is Walking the Line, Sally Wilsey.
So you can see what I like. I like shadows. So this is lots of shadows here, and it's just an interesting composition. I love that there is this tons of these leading lines to this person who has an interesting look to his face, and shadows on his face, which are, I think, also well done, and just generally an interesting composition and very dynamic. So there's a depth and there is movement, and takes you in.
Okay, in second place, Web 1, Patricia Garrett.
Okay, so this is remember we saw, I don't know if it is the same person. I guess it's the same person who did Web 2. That's why I kind of bit my tongue when I was talking about that one. So it's similar and it's also different. So this is also a very nice web, but this, what I loved about this is that it's superimposed against the grid, and which makes, I think, in my opinion, big difference. So there is this like a tension between very regular pattern and very irregular pattern, very complex one, and so that makes a beautiful, interesting composition here, and also the droplets, of course. Droplets always amplify any of the webs, so that's a good thing to have. And the colors, and here colors work very well. So it's beautiful. This muted green in the back really makes a pleasing picture. The other one, again, that was a black and white, and it was not. I mean, it was a little bit muddled black and white. I would say it could be probably done better, but this one is perfect. So that's why. I mean, I was contemplating for a long time whether this is the first place or the second place, and it was just it was a tough decision. That was it could have been just the first place just as well. So anyway,
In our first place winner, Under the Weather, Linda Tomasulo.
so yeah, this is I love this one. I don't know why. I mean, I can tell you why, but it's just sometimes just the picture just grabs you so much, and you love it. So this is an umbrella, apparently, right? And it's just shot in a very unexpected and a very beautiful way. So I love basically everything about this photo. I love that the cloth or whatever that is overexposed, so you don't really see that. So it completely makes it an abstract picture right away. And yet there are some elements which remain. This circle is great. So that's additional geometrical elements which is left because it's darker, so it's not overexposed, and all those spokes. The composition itself is really interesting. So it's not symmetric, which is in this case works really well, and it's again, the contrast is such that it becomes kind of flat. So it's almost like a spider, and it just so when you make something real into something abstract, that makes make me very happy. So I really, this is my best choice. So congratulations, Linda.
All right. Congratulations, everyone. Great photos. We'll move on to our next topic, which is people in a street scene. We have 40 entries, 5 places, and 5 honorable mentions. First up.
Okay, here we go.
Morning in Albany Central Square. Marty Baker.
Well, I like the scene a lot. So just first of all, it's very complex. There are lots of things which are pretty. The stair in the back, the stuff on the table, and I love the gaze of the person behind the cup. So she's really into something, which is so her gaze is very animated. So everything is good except for the technical quality somehow. I mean, this again, it seems like it was not very sharp, and the author tried to sharpen it or something. It just has it doesn't have a good, I don't know what kind of optics Marty used, but yes, if it was technically well done, it would be a very good picture, in my opinion. I like the way that it was the moment it was captured when most of your face is covered by the cup, but you see the eyes. I think it's a good thing.
Next up is Saratoga Springs Street, number 2, Patricia Garrett.
So this is kind of a tough one. I liked a lot about this picture, but I think it's like you have 2 pictures in the same frame and they don't quite work together. So the street on the left, first of all, it's overexposed. And I understand it's bright there. There is probably a lot of sunshine, but for me personally, so that's one scene. Another scene is what's going on in the cafe behind the glass, and for me that scene is more interesting. And what I would do is I would probably just crop that street out and just left this corner. Maybe those 2 girls which are sitting at the table in the left, in the middle of the frame, but not the street itself. So I would cut that out and focus my attention on the people who are behind the window with all the reflections. I mean, that would make it I think a stronger picture. So
Okay, next is Saratoga Streets, number 1, Patricia Garrett.
So I mean, yeah, I understand the idea. It's just, I don't know. I understand, but the picture, I can see that the picture itself, what was before you start moving your camera up and down, it's not very interesting. So yeah, it's like kind of a random street scene. So, and when you move this kind of, you try to make it more abstract. It's not quite abstract because you can still see what's happening. So for me, this, I mean, technique here is one thing which can sometimes work very well. In this particular case, I didn't find them. You know, the street and the technique work together very well. So
Next up is Loving Couple, Sharon Silversmith.
It's a nice warm scene, definitely worth taking picture of. I would probably try to take a picture of that myself. Couple of things which are, you know, will bring it down a little bit for me is that, first of all, the light is very harsh, so you can see that the side sunlight is not very flattering, but nothing in this particular case, nothing you can do about it. Maybe what you could do is you try to position yourself maybe at a different angle to the light. So and that also could maybe help you because you know, he's looking at you, right? And that's sometimes it works well. Sometimes in this particular case, maybe not as much. I would love to see the girl's face when she's petting the dog. So I would try to position myself to the right, and maybe also see the dog better, so it would not be covered maybe by this thingy as much. So just compositionally, I would try to maybe shift myself a little bit when I do this.
Next is Outside Tour, Greg Effner.
So this is it's a nice picture, but I wouldn't call it as like a street scene. You see some people, but you don't really know. I mean, yes, they're walking somewhere in the distance, not particularly. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a picture about people. It's a picture about this building and the tree, which is nice. I think it was nicely exposed, so it shows a good. So it's a good architectural landscape kind of photo, but not really a street photo, I would say.
Next up is the Bethlehem Neighbors for Peace, Dow Smith.
So this is a good documentary photo. So there are some, I don't know, it's a topic for the whole discussion. What is the difference between street photos and street photography and documentary photography, like a photojournalism? So this is a good photojournalism. I like this a lot in that respect. The guy in the middle, how he's looking at you know, at the photographer is really a strong gaze. But maybe, I mean, I wouldn't call it as much as street photography per se. So yeah, let's just leave it there. So yeah, because it definitely is an interesting photo and kind of has a timestamp.
Next is Afternoon Stroll, Paula Keefe.
It's what can I say? Yeah, people are walking, right? So yeah, it's a street scene, but maybe not very interesting one. So there's not. I mean, when I look at the street photo, I just try to answer the question why the author shows me this. I mean, the ones beside, or why did he or she decided to take this photo? And in this part, I suppose to like a photo, you know, 10 seconds later of these other guys who walk, or just any other time on the street. So there must be something which caught the author's attention. Should be something interesting compositionally or emotionally, or in here it didn't grab me, but it's a well done photo. The light is good, you know, the processing is nice, so nothing wrong with that. It's just the moment is maybe not the particularly striking one.
Next is the Wizard of J Street, Sean Sullivan.
Well, it's a nice photo of a well done black and white conversion, I would say. Yeah, but it's kind of like, yeah, so he's posing for you, I guess, right? So yeah, so that's fine, but it's maybe again in street photos sometimes you want something kind of like spontaneous, more spontaneous, I would say. Here is less. I mean, maybe he was not posing for you, but just that's an impression which I get from this photo.
Okay. Next is I Must Lose Myself, Kim Kozin.
So similar to the previous photo of the, you know, people with posters. So it's a documentary photo, and it's very spontaneous. I like the dynamic. So it's like people are moving Maybe, I mean, cropping maybe could be better. I'm not sure. I didn't see what else is there in the scene, but again, this is maybe more in the documentary photojournalism domain than street photography, because there are some other things which are not making it kind of well-crafted street photo, I should say.
Okay, next up is It's a Ghost, Janice Pritchett.
This is a fun photo. Yeah, it's just maybe technically again not particularly great. So there is what very. I mean, I like the frame. Maybe I could step a little bit up further away so to show, but maybe not. I don't know. It's something with the processing is not quite. I'm not sure. Is it the over very bright background and the overall. I don't know, is it sharpness? So nothing wrong with that particularly, just could be maybe black and white conversion could work here actually better.
Next up is Couples, Raoul Speer.
So yeah, it's in principle, it has a nice potential. Just just the moment. I mean, yes, just the moment itself is maybe not the perfect one for this photo. So if both dogs look front, and the guy maybe also, I mean, if you could keep taking it. Sometimes when I see scenes like this, I maybe take 10, 20 pictures of them and just find one, the best one. So I had a feeling that this is not the best moment for this to capture. If they were more aligned, the dogs would either looked at each other or looked both front, could be better. And the guy, maybe he would look up to. So in principle, interesting find. So definitely deserves some trying to make a good photo out of it.
Next up is Surf Skater, Thomas Whitmore.
Yeah, so again, something is wrong with the exposure. I'm not sure. So the focus, I don't see what exactly is in focus here, but the guy seems to be slightly out of it, and that's just so the background seems to be more focused than when him, and it should be the other way around. So that's what is bringing this photo a little bit down for me, but it's a good capture otherwise.
Next is Walking and Talking, Paul O'Keefe.
Yeah, again, nice lighting, nice. I mean, framing maybe a little bit too tight. I would maybe step up out a little bit more, because just to put this scene in some kind of perspective. Not particularly interesting moment, I would say. Okay, so yeah, there, but not so bad. So it's like, yeah, there is some echoes. They both holding paper cups. So more emotions in their faces when they communicate would be probably better. They kind of talking. That's not even clear if they're talking to each other or each one of them is talking to himself and herself. So again, the moment maybe not the best one, but in general, yeah, it's a pretty good photo.
Next up is Memorial Day Parade, Joe Catronio.
Yeah, it's a more of a, in my opinion, more of a documentary photo of some interesting event happening. So yeah, it's competently done, but maybe not as striking as some other ones. But yeah.
Next up is The Balloon Man, Sally Wilsey.
Well, again, this is a photo which has a lot of potential. So I love these two little guys which are watching him, and his posture, and also the soldier in the back also brings a lot to this. So just would try to compose it maybe better somehow. I'm not even sure how. Sometimes you just get what you get. So there is this left bottom corner. There's this strange shoulder which kind of blocks these two guys. If I could, I would try to avoid that, to see them, because you basically you want to have, this has two focal points, these two little kids and this guy, and so you try to make that kind of obvious. And then of course there are some other interesting stuff happening in this picture. There's this girl in the back. There is this the interesting windows with some stuff in them, but somehow there is no composition is a little bit disorganized here, and that's what's my problem with this photo. Other than that, it's an interesting one.
Next up is Yard Sale, Joe Catronio.
Yeah, so this is yeah, definitely. I mean, again, nothing wrong with that. Well done, but not super interesting moment to me. I mean, I kind of, on one hand, I kind of like it. It has a very peaceful kind of rural feel to that. There's this beautiful dog which is kind of bored with the conversation, and then that's why it looks at the photographer rather than the other guys, one of the girls. But somehow I don't know, just kind of flat in a way. So it's like a tableau, and then not nothing is kind of so compositionally is not very interesting. I should say that's maybe what my problem is.
Next up is skateboarder Alan Wiggins.
Yeah, this in principle it's a good one. So there is this focus is on the in the right place. I would maybe try to make it with a smaller depth of field, with a shallow depth of field, so that you could actually isolate this guy from the background a little bit more, if I could. So I love the shadow of the guy and the skateboard. So everything works well. The position of the guy is, in principle, could be better. So you don't. It would be nice to see him with his face facing the camera, not his butt. But I guess that's what you get. But because if you would take his picture from the other side, you would be against the sun, so you cannot do that. So, but just a moment. But in principle, it's a good photo. Yeah, was one of the contenders.
Next up is Streetwalkers, Linda Tomasulo.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I mean, in principle, the idea is not super original, so people take pictures of these things pretty often. I mean, at least I have seen many of them. But I was just curious if it was who took this photo out of the group, because presumably it's one of these 4 photographers in there. But I wasn't sure who did this, because I didn't see any camera pointing into the mirror. But maybe I just didn't look carefully enough. But anyway, so it's an interesting photo. Maybe I wouldn't call it super original, but yeah.
Next up is Israeli students, Nancy Delaney.
Yeah, this is yeah, what can I say? This is I mean, it feels like a photo which would be taken by the friend of these girls, like you know, and then so they are clearly posing and making faces, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice photo it's a nice keepsake for you know, either for photographers as a memory of this, or for the girls if they had this photo, but maybe not as much as a street photography, as at least as I imagine that. So more like a snapshot.
Next up is a man with his phone, Marguerite Hill.
So yeah, I like this photo. I like its simplicity in this case. There is this like interesting kind of vertical organization. There is this very tall guy, and there is this other bunch of other vertical lines. This red minimalistic photo. I like that. I like this red fire hydrants, which also kind of correlate with his pose, just looking in the opposite direction. So yeah, pretty good photo, just maybe not super striking, but yeah, definitely one of the good ones.
Next up is Two Pair Tango, Elena Kisi.
Yeah, this is a nice photo. I actually enjoyed looking at it, maybe because I was dancing tango some years ago, so I kind of can appreciate a good tango pose. And I love that there is this very clearly consciously made you know, synchronization of this pose and the picture which is on the right. So basically almost identical pose. And yeah, well done. Yeah, so one of the good ones, I guess. But I mean, it's yeah, nothing wrong with this. I do like it, so just didn't make it to the top 5.
Next up is Girl Boss, Kim Koza.
Well, again, it's a photo of you know, of a demonstration. So yeah, well, it could be more. I guess technically it's more or less okay. It's just almost there. I think I would make it a little bit more contrasty somehow. At least it feels a little bit washed out. But again, maybe not very street photography style, but more of a documentary style.
Next up is the art critic, Dan Steen.
So in principle, I do like this photo. I like the environment, it's the tree, it's all good, except, I mean, my problem was that the framing, I wasn't sure about this pole, the light pole in the front. So there is a lot of space in front, which is kind of negative in a sense, negative space. So maybe, and the guy is kind of small there, not very prominent. Maybe I would come closer and just take a picture of him and the pictures, and maybe the background. The background building is very nice. The building with the tree, that is a good but this pole, this light pole is kind of distracting here, at least in my opinion. And the stuff on the right, that door with the flowers, yeah, I'm not sure I need this in this picture. I would just maybe get rid of it, come closer.
And next up is Outside Elena, Greg Effner.
This is a beautiful photo. Again, I had a problem with deciding whether I should have it in HM or not. It's just I'm not sure if it's a street scene, right? So it's a beautiful landscape with some human element. That's what I would define it, and it's nothing wrong with this photo. I love it. Just maybe not a street photography as I imagine it.
Next is Lake Placid, Olympic Village, Janice Pritchett.
So yeah, could be a good photo, be the right moment if you could capture it maybe. So there is this definitely interesting dog, which with his very intense gaze. But is he looking at the girls which are in the back, those two girls, and then these two which are in the front? They somehow blocking this communication, and they are not focused. They are not in focus, which is maybe, I mean, it's okay. They are not in focus because they are not the focus of composition, so to speak. But I would prefer them not to be here. So I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be possible to shoot it without them, because when these two girls would go out, then the other two would also leave the frame, or at least be not in the right place. But that's the problem with the street photography. You cannot control everything. So lots of times you are so close to making a good photo, but you don't make it because your stars are not aligned, and but sometimes you do, and that's the whole game. So in this case, if there were these two people in front, and there would be clear communication between the dog and the girls, that would be a good picture, I would love.
Up is Dueling Clarinets, Donna Funk.
So again, it's a good moment, and maybe not the perfect moment. So yeah, so they're playing, right, and there are a couple of things which are missing. So I would prefer them to be maybe more into the moment, so they're not really either maybe looking at each other, or some more expressive faces would help. Also, if maybe there would be something else in the frame, maybe somebody would come and maybe give some money, or maybe just look at them. Include somebody else in the composition, that could help. And the fact that they are in the shadow, and there is a very bright sunlit street in the back also doesn't help here. So it's kind of hard to see them, because that street is kind of blinding you. So again, this is the moment which could potentially make a great picture, but maybe you should just wait and see what happens there, and maybe something will eventually, and also try to position yourself so the light works better. Because sometimes when you have very bright light in the back, if you go from the other side, that light somehow reflects onto the people in the darkness. So sometimes the best pictures are when you're very close to the bright light, but you are shooting from that into the darkness. And so sometimes you have interesting lights and shadows on the faces when people are sitting close to the boundary between light and dark. So that's one of my favorite positioning of people if it works.
Next up is a come to Jesus moment at Schreibstein.
Come to Jesus moment. Again, it's a fun picture. It would be So I love the reflection in the mirror. That's actually a good catch. So the composition maybe could be a little bit better. So it's a little bit, the person, the woman with the dog is a little bit too close to the edge of the frame. I thought maybe if you'd leave a little bit of a space there, could maybe work better. And other than that, yeah, it's a good picture. I don't know, it's just some, something could be improved, but
Next up is Waiting in Line, Marguerite Hill.
waiting in line. Yeah, this is again, I like this picture. I like the dog, so that he's the only one who is paying attention to the photographer, which is a nice moment. Excuse me, let me just
Next up is Window Dressing, Sally Wilsey.
so yeah, so there's it's I would prefer a little bit of a better composition. So there is some strange things going on. For example, there are more people there in the scene, and then there is this person on the right, that girl on the right, which is blocked by these balls, which is, and you see her leg and a little bit of a face, which is kind of a strange choice. So you can assume that they are posing to somebody else in this case, right? So and then you are like capturing this from the side, kind of like a snapshot. It feels like a little bit like a snapshot of something which is happening for somebody else's sake. So
Next up is Daycare Fun, Ronald Spear.
in principle, lots of things can. Again, it's an interesting moment to photograph, and maybe not the best particular specific instant when you took a photo, because if you want to. I don't. Again, what is the focus of this photo? I don't know. Is it the two kids which are in the center? If that is true, then you maybe want to see the faces, or like them doing something more interesting. Maybe come closer to them so they're more prominent, and maybe wait for them to turn. So because most of the main characters are with their backs to you, and that kind of brings it a little bit down. But generally, those are the moments which you can get great pictures.
Next up, honorable mentions. First up, Nothing Among Everything, Neil Shapiro.
Oh, this is a beautifully technically very well done photo. I love the very soft textures everywhere, the polka dots and the bricks, lots of this kind of interesting textures, and it's very well lit and very well processed black and white. It's very quiet, very peaceful. I like it.
Next honorable mention, Body Parts, Neil Shapiro.
That's what was one of my favorites. So lots of interesting stuff going on, reflections, and the headless person on the right was awesome. So yeah, it's just very good composition. I like it a lot.
Next honorable mention is Why Hello There, Big Fella, Sean Sullivan.
Also very nice. I love the moment. I mean, in this case, the interaction between the photographer and the person I think works really well. And just a very fun photo. I just love this spontaneous. It clearly is spontaneous, so just a momentary reaction, and you can feel that. And also the woman who is smiling through her mask. So just a fun photo of it.
Next up is What Could Go Wrong, Rich Streibstein.
Yeah, this is just an example of a perfect moment captured. I mean, technically, it could be a little bit better, but in this case, just the gaze of those dogs are so fun. How they look at this little dog, it's just a precious moment, which I love, and so I have to give it a good shot.
Next honorable mention is All Aboard, Sharon Silversmith.
Just nice, very nice, warm portrait. I mean, technically, could be a little bit better, I thought. So again, maybe slightly tilted frame. So because you're shooting a little bit up, I guess, is that the pipes on the right that you see they are clearly tilted. You could correct it in Photoshop quite easily, I thought. And it's a little bit the colors are not as crisp, maybe, and I don't know, something about this photo technically is slightly below the perfect, but the composition itself and the nice gaze compensates for that. So I loved it.
Hey, and our winners in fifth place, I think there's a hole in my hat. Dan Steen.
This is just a precious moment and very well captured. So you can see the emotions. I mean, for me, emotions in the street photo are very important. Some people have different views about what the street photo should be about, but I really value it very high. When there is something interesting in the faces, puzzlement, love or anger or something, that really brings it to the next level for me. And I thought this was a good one. And just generally composition, this diagonal, flow from one boy to another boy, the blue highlights against this kind of muted color background. So it's all well done. Very good.
In fourth place, The Lesson, Marty Bannon.
This is interesting photo, and it's kind of unusual, and then but it works at least for me very well. So there's this. It's all built on contrasts. There are so many different contrasts between this black and white persons, and then one looking straight into the camera, another is perfectly sideways. The hands, just everything, and it just works somehow. I don't know. It's hard to explain sometimes why, but in this case, it does.
In third place, Takes a Pack to Walk a Human, Alina Kesey.
Just a great composition. I love that how just very well focused on what the person wants to say with this photo, and the depth of field, technically the light, everything works, and it's just an endearing moment, nice to see, and a good title.
In second place, New York City Backpacker, Linda Tomasula.
So, I mean, in principle, it's not very original, but I thought it was very well done, and I love the echo between the colors in the person and the colors in the background. I think when I find these kind of reflections and rhymes in the photo, that always is a good thing. So you see this blue hat and red backpack and red coat, and then the same combination of colors in the back, and that's great. And so in general, it's a really urban, lots of stuff happening in the background, works.
And our first place winner, Stepping Up, Alan Wiggins.
Well, this is, I mean, it's really what you can see what I said about the wow factor. So this is really striking photo. It just kicks you immediately. And so the idea of shooting, the person jumping over water in the city, it's not a new one. So it's in a very good tradition of Cartier-Bresson and Richard Avedon was doing similar things, but I don't know if it was posed or doesn't seem like that. I think it was captured, but it doesn't really matter in this case. It's just very well composed, very striking, and just both the reflections and the feet and the stuff behind it. Everything works very well here. So that was my favorite for sure.
Congratulations, everyone. As usual, great images. Thank you, Lev. That commentary is greatly appreciated.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I apologize that if my opinions did not coincide with other people's opinions, but that's the nature of this. I don't claim that I'm the bearer of the final truth.
So, we're going to mute. Anybody got any questions for Lev or comments?
No, thank you, Lev. This was great. Nice, constructive comments. Appreciate them.
Great job, Lev.
Oh, good. Nice job, Lev. Let me ask you a question. Do you use zone focusing on your street shooting, or are you
Zone? What do you mean by zone focusing? I'm not
where
familiar.
you focus the camera at f8 and you set it up for generally to shoot from? I shoot from 7 feet to infinity, and I shoot bursts
Actually,
as well. Yeah.
Well, no, it depends, of course.
Yeah.
But normally I use autofocus. Actually, I don't know
Okay.
many people don't do that, but I use autofocus. But I just try to be very quick how I place my point where it focuses. So sometimes I miss, but usually, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. So because it's if you make, sometimes it works when everything is in focus, but sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes you want to
Yeah.
isolate,
Yeah.
and so this is a decision you have to make depending on what you see.
And what are you using primarily? A 35, 50? What do you use?
Oh, no, actually,
lens.
you would be surprised. No, I use a zoom lens most of the
Oh, do
time.
you? Okay.
And, yeah, and I finally found a good one which I love. So it's a surprisingly. I mean, I use lately for the last maybe 9 years, 10 years. I don't even remember. I use Olympus Micro Four Thirds. This
Okay.
the small camera, and then they make surprise. It's much smaller, but also sorry. They make surprisingly good lenses. I mean, they are, before I used Nikon, and then Nikon makes, of course, good lenses, but I found that Olympus lenses in the pro category are better than Nikon. So they're just amazing. So, for example, they have this super zoom 12 to 100 millimeter, which is basically like 24 to 200 in full frame equivalent. It's just amazingly good. It's just almost as good as a prime. Which normally those super zooms are really shitty, which is sometimes it's okay still to use them because it allows you to capture those things which you would miss otherwise. So, but this one actually I don't really compromise in quality, so it really works well for me. It's a bigger lens, but not as big as the Nikon lenses, but still not small, but it works. But I carry other lenses too, so I have a.
Are you shooting from the hip, or are you using your viewfinder?
No, usually from the face, but sometimes from the hip. Yes, yeah, because it has a flip
screen, right?
thing,
Yeah.
so Sean, you have the same.
I have the Olympus, yeah,
Which
Mark.
one is this? Oh, this is a film Olympus, no?
No, it's the OMD Mark III.
Oh, okay.
OM3 M10 III.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just recently got this new model.
You're right. It's a great little street photography camera because it's small, lightweight,
Great. Yeah, people don't.
and it has a flip out, viewfinder, and easy to keep down below, and I can still see what I'm shooting.
Yeah.
If I need to get far, I just got my little 40 to 150 here.
Really
Yeah,
like-
I used one of those X100s from Fuji.
Yeah, right.
primarily.
Slightly bigger sensor. I think it's like APS sensor.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I decided to downsize from Nikon. I had really hard time deciding between the Fuji and the Olympus, and decided eventually to go Olympus way.
I have both. So
Well,
that's all.
the Fuji is a fixed lens, so I don't have many options. It's a
Oh, it has a fixed lens.
yeah, it's a 35 millimeter
Oh,
fixed
okay.
lens. Yeah,
You cannot.
I can put an adapter
Oh.
to get me to 27 millimeters, or I could put an adapter that will get me to 50, but I prefer to just shoot the 35.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Is 35 is a full frame equivalent, or this is that 35? So
No, this is a 23 mil and it's a 35 full frame.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I posted Lev's URL in the chat, so if anyone missed it, it was sort of towards the beginning.
What did you say? I'm sorry. The sound was not very.
Oh, no, I just reminded people they can look earlier in the chat to find your website URL, because I really recommend they go look at it. And it's well done too. Is that I recognize the site. Where do you use for that, Lev?
Well, this is WordPress. I just.
Oh, it's just in WordPress? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
I
really,
wrote it myself,
it's
yeah.
really well done. I like the navigation on it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Not
you
to
wanna
mention
see-
the photos, but
If you have time, do you want to see some of my pictures from that
Yes.
website?
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
absolutely.
Yes,
For you,
please.
because I have it open here, and if you want to see some, I can show you maybe a few. So if I share my screen, can I do that?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, can you see my
Yep.
okay, so, yeah, so this is my website, and there are different things. So if you go to portfolios, there are a bunch of things. So I wanted to show you, in the spirit of the contests which I just judged, I wanted to show you my abstract album. So there are some photos which are kind of similar to what you guys showed me. So where geometry basically makes. I mean, I have a bunch of other things, but this is. So this is just reflections in one of the buildings across the street, which I. This is again some mirrors in a museum. So I don't know if you can see my the Broad Museum in Los Angeles. So this is kind of an interesting one. This is a piece of this what is called seaweed. You know, there's seaweed green things which you can eat with your sushi, which you make the sushi rolls out of. So yeah, but if you shoot through a strong light through that and then do some processing, that's kind of what you get. Either this or this is the same, maybe the same image in black and white. So kind of a cool structure I found. So these are some reflections in waves and water, some other reflections. So this is an interesting photo of droplets on the sunroof of my car. Sometimes someday I looked it up and just that's what I saw. That's very fractal. So you have big droplets, small droplets, tiny little droplets. So I found it fascinating. Interesting physics behind that, by the way, too. Of course. So this is a photo of, these are paper straws, you know, plastic straws, and there is a light behind them. So it was actually cool reflections. And this is what is this? This is the fiber optics lamp. A long time ago. So this is I have a whole series of these photos which are kind of cool. Which is actually this is the photo of if you take a very old can of paint, then oil goes to the surface and the paint goes to the bottom, as you probably know. So, but once you start mixing it up, then you see some very interesting structures in the oil of the paint. So, and then so when I just did it, well, I needed it for some home project, and I found that, and I dropped my home project, and I started shooting those patterns, and they were just fantastically interesting. So if you look at this, you can see all kinds of stuff happening in there. So you can see this, and then of course in the Photoshop you kind of amplify the colors, so they're not as bright in real life, but then you can actually amplify them, and there are some quite beautiful gradations of color. So this is another one. There's some blue in there somehow.
Looks like a bird on the bottom of that one there.
Yeah, you just have one bird and you see another animal here. Yeah, there is a whole bunch of.
It's like a bull right there.
Like a magical zoo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, I had a whole series of them.
Good stuff.
And this is.
So what did your wife say when you didn't get your painting project done that she asked you to do?
Yeah. Well, it took some convincing. Yeah. So anyway, so this is the underground tunnel, and I was just riding. Actually, it looks like we are going forward. Actually, I was shooting from the back window of a car. I think it's in Vancouver, if I remember correctly. We have this metro. So this is just beautiful, very nice shadows.
Escher.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So this is some shooting of some. It's a glass ball. Maybe you've seen some of those with some bubbles, air bubbles inside. So just a very close-up macro photo of that. This is in Seattle. You have this Frank Gehry building, which I just took a close-up of that. This is just some grass out of focus. Just nice geometry, but not really sharp, not focused, which is awesome. So this is some floral pictures. Yeah, trees. I like the abstract quality when I kind of like that. I didn't like even a triptych of those trees. This is all taken different places, but work together. And then I had another series of this. I call it alluvial patterns. So this is at the beach close to where I live. So there are some apparently. There are the sand there is mixture of white sand and black sand, and they have some different properties, or maybe different density or something. And so then there is a flow of water over top of that. So then it kind of separates them, and you can see some pretty interesting fractal pictures like this. I love that.
Real footprint there.
Yeah.
That may be a footprint.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, it was, yeah, he's at the beach, yeah.
yeah, it's on the beach. Yeah, this is some other reflections, not there. This is a better one I found. For the ball floating and the reflecting. So it's,
Were those the colors that were? Did you manipulate
yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, sorry, but it's yeah. I did. Oops.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it was just like basically it was straight out of the camera. I mean, maybe I amplified the camera, the lights a little bit, but not. But it was all there, which was great.
Very cool.
I thought the contrast was amazing between the basically black and white structure here and the the pop of color and the ball. So this is, you probably know, this is Antelope Canyon.
Antelope Canyon.
Yeah. Classical picture. So this is another, I had another series of the same, a different year even. It was 3 years ago. It's more, these are kind of almost like landscapes, also out of sand, which is I found very fascinating. See, like some kind of primordial forest. It's all sand.
In the sand? I
Yeah,
didn't quite.
it's all natural. Yeah, it's all sand on the beach. I was just trying to find the good compositions out of that. It was basically, there was some kind of like a alluvial flows which would create this, fractal things.
It's amazing.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
Couldn't stop taking these pictures. Just there are so many.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, this is
Looks like celery.
this is called Romanesco. This is a plant which is actually creates this beautiful fractal structures, which is amazing. Then this one, this is an interesting one. This is a photo I took for work, actually, believe it or not. So this is my this is part of things which I do at work is I study bacterial patterns. And so it turns out if you take two types of bacteria, very different but specific ones, and mix them together and put them in a petri dish in the center, and they start grow. The colony starts to grow. It forms this very interesting, beautiful patterns like this one or like any of these three. So they phase separate, and also they there is this whole instability occurring, which I don't want to bother you with the model, but it creates some amazing stuff. So that's what's the picture.
What's the radius of that bacteria that you're
This is
showing?
actually, it's about 5-7 centimeters. So it's in a petri dish. So yeah, it's visible by the naked eye. Yeah, but the colors are not by the naked eye. You need to shoot it in fluorescent light to get the color picture. But this one, the one in the top, you can see with the naked eye, basically like this. So yeah, so these are my abstract pictures. I can show you some of my street photos just also.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
So this is my black and white collection here. So see that, for example, here I try to make the picture. Then ideally we should have some kind of a story or some kind of. So again, so it's not just a picture of this girl, but what struck, because yeah, I mean she's a nice girl, but what struck my attention is that reflection, that what happens in the back. So basically she reflects in the window. You would think that it's a reflection, but in fact there is also a woman sitting behind the glass, and she's strikingly similar to this girl, but like, I don't know, 40 years older. So it's like the reflection of herself in the future, which is kind of, I thought it was exciting. It was really interesting, and so that's why I took this photo.
So what did you name that? It looks like Dorian Gray.
Well, that's what I called it.
Yeah,
Doriana Gray, exactly.
Yeah, Doriana Gray. Yeah.
It was in Prague, in Czech Republic. So
Yeah.
So this one, I just thought it was a very good contrast between these huge things. It's in Los Angeles. There is this place close to Los Angeles Museum of Art where they put these lampposts, and so they are huge, like a big pawn. I call it big pawns and a little queen. So I was shooting. I love the shadows, and I was standing here. That's exactly what. That's when it paid to wait. I was standing there, and I felt that I need some focal point in here. So there is a composition. So there are this leading line leading out, and it was empty. So I thought I should wait until somebody will show up there. I mean, I didn't know who, but then this little girl appeared. It was just a perfect, connection. So it was just a lucky occurrence. So she just. And
Now, is that her shadow reflected again and again? What is?
No, No,
Yeah,
these
what
are the shadows of the
Oh,
pole
these are the shadows of the top of the.
of this light poles. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
you.
just repeating
Oh, no,
there.
they do look like pawns in a chess
Yeah, yeah,
game.
yeah, exactly. But because I cropped the top of them, so
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
trained it down.
Okay.
So this is, speaking of New York, this is in Brighton Beach. So this
Yep.
is the street sellers, and I just love the expressions of these two. Again, there is this connection between these two guys. So the guy, how he looks at the scene, and just emotionally, I thought it was interesting, and also interesting light. This, you know, this dappled light coming through this overpass. I just love that.
It's like Keith Richards in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, right. So this was, I mean, it's a straightforward picture, but just the moment was too good to pass because they
Yeah.
look so similar if you look at them. It's just it's almost like
yeah.
she's just a dog, and they're just relatives. Amazing. And
Well,
both
yeah, his hands are in his lap, very similar to the way the paws are.
the pawns and the
It's just
hands.
a nice,
Exactly. Yeah.
nice
Just-
shot,
was
yeah.
good.
Oh, that
Very
was in
funny.
Osaka. Yeah.
So this is just when I love when there is this kind. I have a whole series of pictures. It's another, you know, of my portfolios on the website. Like when people, I call it life imitates art.
Yeah.
So when in museums there are this connection between people and the art. So this is just makes me wonder. So this is just a beautiful atmosphere in Varanasi. Just took this picture because it just was very nice.
That's a famous place, isn't it? I've seen that
It's a very
scene.
oh yeah, Varanasi is awesome. It's just nothing you can compare to this place. It's just incredible. If you have a chance to go there, yeah. But you have to be kind of very resistant to smells, to bad smells, and to dirt. But if you can get over that, it's just incredible place. So good for photography.
Mm.
Yeah. This is just the right moment to capture. I mean, I like that it's so dynamic. They just popped the ball, the soap bubble.
Oh, wow.
It's very emotional somehow. Very nice. I like that. This, yeah, also I think was an interesting composition. The reflects this. I call it adolescence, like very, very telling gaze of that girl to me. Like, what do you want from me? Get away. Yeah, very, you know, teenager, quintessential teenager look. This is just a very weird combination of this street seller and the people photographing for their wedding. I love the whole composition of this fish.
Oh, it's must say.
This is just a homeless person, very sad looking. Just what of that. So this is another one of those when I found this great connection between the person and the picture. This is also in Los Angeles, street scene. This is in Israel. Positionally, I thought it was nice. I found it interesting because this guy, I call this picture Carl. Yeah, you know, there is this fashion designer, Karl Lagerfeld. Yes,
Yeah, Lagerfeld.
when I took this photo, he just died about like 2 weeks ago. Before,
Yeah,
or
looks
maybe a week
like
before.
him.
He looks quite like him. I'm like, wow, is it him? Incognito or something. And but the whole combination of his straight lines and this complex structure of the tree branches and this person as a focal point, I thought it was interesting. So this is a very just kind of an endearing moment of these two boys, boy and girl, teaching this little guy to bicycle. I thought it was a nice moment to capture. This is also New York. This is you know, the Lower Manhattan, waiting for the ferry. So
Elliot Erwitt.
yeah, they're all looking. I mean, you know, it's a barrier about one meter high, and then and then there is a beach and an ocean behind it. So they were all looking what's happening at the beach. So it was so cool. I love taking pictures of people and dogs in the street. So not just, you know, portraits, but kind of moments. And sometimes they can be so interesting, so telling. This is just a, you know, very scene.
That's what our streets look like now.
Yeah. Okay. So this is another moment that you see that sometimes dogs are, just like people. So they look at I call it very eye. Look at how this dog looks at this one. So this is clearly like a street bully, and just sits right in the middle of the sidewalk. And then this guy, and there is another dog in the back. You see, it's hiding behind the owner. They're very scared. So yeah, it's just very telling scene. So just a nice moment. So this was, I call it 12 apostles, because if you count, there are 12 people here, and this is like a Jesus Christ sacrificing himself, because it's incredibly high. If you look at this is huge height. It's very scary, and they just jump very close to the edge. Yeah, this is in Akko in Israel 5 years ago. So this is it's just a flipped photo, just two bicyclists, but these are their shadows. I flipped it up for fun of it. It's also a nice.
Yeah.
One moment. Yeah, I like this photo myself too. So this is again, this is kind of like a metaphor. I consider it as a metaphor on life, sort of. So there is a young guy who's driving very quickly, and then sort of like moving, and then it's like either himself or it's a reflection. Basically, what it is it's of course he's separated by the glass from me. And then there is a reflection of a person who is sitting to the right of this, sleeping, and so he looks either like himself, maybe at old age, or maybe his father or something. So, and the fact, so I positioned myself so he would be exactly inside of him. So that was the conscious choice. So this is another one where the dog, and I love that when there are some echoes in the photo. So like, parallels, so to speak. So there's this woman with the cat, and there is another woman with the dog here, and they just kind of in the book. So lots of parallels, which has made it interesting.
Do you wait for those scenes, Lev, or do you just happen upon them and you like that? Do you like wait around? You see the photo?
Well, I depends. Usually, where is I lost this. Oh, yeah, this one. Well, in this case, I just took several. I maybe I have 5 or 7. I don't remember many pictures of that, but I saw this potential. So I saw this combination, and but I just was waiting for the good moment to photograph. And you take a photo, and then maybe you wait. Maybe it will be a little bit better. And actually, there was another person sitting here, and he saw me. She didn't see me, but he saw me taking photos, and I think he was even sitting closer, and so he was like looking at me, and I'm like, "Can you move?" I waved him, so can you move to the right? So yes, so you don't model the picture. And so he moved actually, so that made the picture better. So anyway,
Yeah, much easier than taking them out later.
Yeah, that's right. So this is also like life imitates art, so to speak.
Yeah.
This is just, I thought it was compositionally interesting. This was done in Russia many years ago. This is, I was just found it, I call it a date. So people are, sitting together at the table, don't pay attention to each other, just each minding its own business, reading. Yeah. And the 2 cakes on top, which is also kind of, it's like a bubble suite of thoughts, cartoons. So it's a very old picture, 2006. I don't know. I was going for this being like a mirage of these two old people. So they're just thinking about it. That's why I made it this part in black and white, and that I left a little bit of a color there. I'm still not sure. Maybe it was not the right decision, but that's what I decided to do then. So that's how it looks now. Just a snapshot, but kind of interesting, I thought.
I like it.
This is I call it loneliness. I mean, it's a very lonely picture. So it's the end of the season. It was in France, in Provence. Like all the tables already, chairs are folded, and the only guy who is remaining is him. So I found this is funny and also endearing. Like this girl kind of wants to be. I forgot, is it Nicole Kidman, I guess, right? So. Oh, somehow I don't see.
Action is steal your own stuff, Lev.
Yeah. Huh?
It tells you it was protected, like you were trying to copy it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So this is just a snapshot. Some of these photos actually are taken. I mean, they're taken for this purpose, but I was using them in. I have a project, which is. I mean, I sometimes I add to that. I call it Parallels, and I have actually a book published on this under the name Parallels. So the idea there is, I take photos of some similar stories or subjects in very different parts of the world, and I show them side by side. And in the book, they are on two opposite sides of every spread. So, and I have a photo. This is a photo of this, velo rickshaws in San Diego, and I have a similar photo of velo rickshaws in China.
Right.
And of course, very different people, very different bikes, but they kind of echo from each other, and it makes it an interesting connection or like commentary on commonalities and differences between different cultures, different countries. So that was part of that pair. So this is just a lonely person in the church. Good composition here. Yeah. Chatting. That's a pain. I just found it funny. Sometimes I just take pictures because I find it like I find some humor in them, and that's I love a smile when a photo brings a smile to the face. So yeah, like this is also kind of fun. So it's Vietnam, and you see that two people like two umbrellas. I mean, it's not an umbrella; it's a hat, but it's kind of like a small umbrella. And I mean, they kind of similar but very different, right? So this is very modern. It has some bag with some, I don't know what it is she's carrying in this high heel shoes, and then this is a very traditional woman carrying some stuff in flip-flops. So just they're going in opposite directions. I thought it was a good catch. This also was trying to catch some interesting combination of the background and the foreground. This is Brighton Beach as well, by the way. So this guy to protect him from the rain. So this is another one of the background matches the foreground so well. Yeah. I mean, it was not as well in the color photo because this is actually white and blue. I think that rock flower, and her jacket was. I thought it was like red and blue and white, many different colors. But when you convert it to black and white, it just makes it perfect. So
looks like it's contagious.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is again when I try to make a connection between the background and foreground. It's like they're craving for the same sandwich which this guy is eating. So that's another echo in the photo. So this is the guy with a lion, and this is the guy with a dog. That's behind each other. That's the fun expression on his face.
Yeah.
Difficult moment. By the way, this is Washington. I think this is Washington Square, actually. So this is. I thought it was just, even though she sits with her back, I think the back is, and there's also the toys with the back. I think it's very kind of emotive. They're looking out and just craving for something which is behind it. So this is one of my favorite photos from 2002, taken with a very small point and shoot, by the way, like it was a 1 megabyte photo or something. My not megabyte, but 1 megapixel or something.
Megapixel,
yeah.
Or 2 maybe, but it came out actually. It's not super sharp, but I think in this case it works. It's very emotional. So this is, this place, Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
Just was using the like a fisheye to make it more interesting. This is also Washington Square.
Nice haircut.
and also that one.
Yeah.
This is I love your gaze here. This is in Los Angeles. This is in San Diego. Folks. This is a lonely person in Japan, New York. It's also New York. This is where Lincoln Center is. You know, there are these fountains which are lighted at night, and then people love to sit on the you know, in front of that, and sometimes these silhouettes are very, very expensive. It's also New York.
Whereabouts were those fountains?
What about
Where
the
were
Lincoln
those
Center.
fountains?
it's Lincoln Center? You know, it's upper west side on the 6th.
Oh, Lincoln Center. Okay.
Lincoln Center. Yeah. They have this plaza in front of it, and there are fountains which are at night. They are nicely lighted, and they are like a wall of light. Yeah, just like that. The poses. See, this is again. I saw this. You know, the advertisement with glasses, and I was standing there maybe for 15 minutes waiting for somebody with the glasses come by so I could see that kind of. But then these two people came with the glasses. I thought that perfect. So I got it. Yeah, this is just a nice moment. Again.
Once again, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. I think I have them also in that book as a parallel.
Yeah.
Lev, I think everyone's enjoying it, but it's getting past our bedtime here in
Yeah,
New York.
We should probably stop. Yeah. Okay.
For us old folk.
Yeah, let me stop here.
But I
Lev,
really recommend people go to your site and look through.
Sorry.
the-
Yeah, you can see all of them on my website, so it's really easy. So it's levtsimring.com.
Yeah.
Lev,
Well,
thank you.
so much. I
You
hope
can
you
see that
enjoyed
it's
it.
also dark. It's also dark here. We see because my face was lighted by the window, which is behind my computer. But now it's dark outside, so you better.
Well,
Thank
guys,
you very much, Lev. I learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lev. That was great.
Thank you, Lev.
Thank you, Lev.
don't forget to get your images for next weekend by Saturday night.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lev. Thanks,
Later,
all.
everybody.
All right, thanks, Lev.
Bye.